everybody.
I can't believe that's our entrance music.
Oh, do you not like it? I thought you'd heard it before.
I heard it like 30 seconds ago during the first go-around of this entrance.
You had never listened to it before that? I'm glad to see
I've never been able to hear it before until now. So, I mean, no, I had never heard it before.
And you do post the show. I'm glad you're watching it. Jeez.
I'm taking it straight from what from the YouTube video. So I mean, I don't have to rewatch it. I just
fair enough.
Take your edit.
And I just realized I'm trying out a new Zoom background. I didn't scale it right because I look like a freaking hobbit sitting in a giant chair.
Yeah, you look like a child in a giant chair.
So let's fix that issue. But stick with us, folks. We are trying to up our game, as it were. There we go. That's better.
There you go.
So you'll see we're a little fancier all around. We're trying some new things.
On his side, not my side, is still just my room.
Right, but no, all around you, like the presentation of the show.
Okay.
We're trying to actually make it
doesn't look like that from here. It just looks like regular Zoom.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking to the audience.
I get it. You're talking
to the people,
not necessarily to me. Welcome everybody. This is Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. That is John Nolan. We are the Punch Drunk Critics, movie critics, guys who love movies, whatever. How you doing this week, man?
It's been a long one. Shit going on left and right.
It really has. It has felt extremely long.
Yeah, I know we both had rough weeks, maybe for different reasons, but a rough week is a rough week. And that's what got me into, my kind of week is what got me into movies in the first place. There's no drug, no alcohol, nothing on the planet that can let you escape like a good movie. And that's
right when I lean forward. When you lean back, your voice is not as strong.
Oh, I wonder if I'm using the wrong mic. Let me see if I can fix that.
Yeah, your voice is a little bit quieter than usual.
Huh. I was ready to use my AirPods, but
I just need to turn the volume up. I mean, it might not be that big of a deal, but I just want to let you know.
No. That's cool. Let me just try. I'll try this other mic and just tell me if it sounds better or worse.
So
it has been. Are you ready?
How's that?
Yeah, it's better. It has been.
No, I can't hear you.
Huh?
I took my AirPods out and then I couldn't hear you. I was like, I guess I still need them in.
Yeah, it's been a very, very long week. Very tough week. I know for you it was trying for personal reasons. Kind of was for me too, but nothing that involved me directly. But it was just, I don't know, something about this week, man. Well, I mean, I know exactly what it was. What it was is, and I tweeted about this a few days ago. I went back to the movies this week.
Yes,
twice.
you did.
I went to the movies twice this week. Once for a screening of Tenet, which I guess I can say that now. We weren't supposed to, but my review's up, so I mean the cover is blown. So I guess I could say it. They held a screening of Tenet early this week. Like only a handful of people were invited, and only a handful of people were there.
Right.
Wasn't it me? Socially distanced. We were all a mile apart from each other. We all had masks on, so it seemed about as safe as it could be. I assume that we were. I guess I'll find out in a couple of weeks. If I'm dead in a couple of weeks, John, you'll know it was because I went to see Tenet.
Man, don't even in 2020. You can't make those jokes, man. You can't even say that. Anything is possible.
I'm gonna say it was because I went to see Tenet and not because I went to see the New Mutants the next day. That just sounds better. But yeah, so we went there. Had the Tenet review. At the Tenet screening, and then the next day I went to see the New Mutants in the same place, AMC Tyson's Corner, and like they're going through their guidelines, their safety guidelines. They changed the way you enter the theater. They have masks available. In fact, my mask broke right before the movie started, and I had to go. I went right outside, and they gave me a new one like within 10 seconds, and it was a much better mask than the one I came in there with, so it was fine. They had good masks. So it seems like they're being safe. They're being as safe as possible. Seats were properly distanced. Trust me. And I did a whole Twitch stream about this on Friday.
Cinematic _ Enforcer on Twitch for those of you guys who aren't following yet.
Cinematic _ Enforcer on Twitch. Yep. Talking about why I decided to go back because I got a lot of comments from people saying, "I can't believe you went back. Yeah, I would never go back," and all that kind of bullshit. And I know there's a lot of sites out there that are saying we're not going to be reviewing any movies that are in theaters while it's not safe. And you know, and I talked about it, and I'm like, well, I mean, the way I look at it is, we all fucking know that there's a pandemic outside.
Right.
Like you don't need like, one thing I'm not going to do on the site, and I said this during the stream. I was like, the one thing I'm not going to do on the site is have people put up disclaimers about, oh well, you know, it's dangerous to go out, so don't do this. We're not going to do this, and if you decide to go out, then know the risks. And I don't need to tell you that. Who the fuck doesn't know?
We're all adults.
Yeah, right. We are all adults here. If you decide that you want to go pay to see Tenet, and you feel like you can do it safely, then by all means go do it. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't want to, you feel scared about it, because trust me, there are going to be times when I don't feel safe going out to do it.
Right.
The only reason why I felt safe to do it in these two particular instances was, one was a screening with only a handful of people, and the other was a showing of a movie in which there were only a handful of people who bought tickets.
Right.
So I knew there wasn't going to be a whole bunch of people there. Now, would I go and pay to see Tenet in a crowded theater? Fuck no.
So,
hell no.
I guess, I mean, the thing is, and this relates to everything that's going on now, is there is no place that's inherently dangerous. It's the people that go to those places. My only concern with going back to a movie theater is that, especially since these nice reclining leather seats came in, people have lost their sense of decorum in public, and it's the other people you have to worry about. If I can't trust you to wear regular clothes and your shoes and not bring your blankie from home to the movie theater in regular time, I don't think I can trust you to not come in there with a fever or a mask and all this other stuff. Now, that being said,
the good thing is most theaters aren't going to let people in there, and there are people constantly going in and out checking. And trust me, if there was somebody in the theater who took their mask off or something like that in the theater, during a time like this, somebody would go and say something.
For sure. I mean,
I damn sure would too.
For us, it's a little different because we go to screenings, and I gotta imagine they're not having publicity screenings with a bunch of people that are giving tickets on the radio and whatnot. But did you feel like it was like all those steps were taken for it to be safe, like checking temperatures, things like that, and was it efficient?
Well, we didn't do temperature checks or anything like that, but like I said, the screening is only a handful of people, so we all were properly distanced. The seats were assigned, basically, or at least they were set aside for us. They were all well apart from each other. I think there was one other person in my row, and it was Tim, and he was way on the other side. So I mean, we weren't anywhere close to each other until afterwards, when we kind of greeted each other and talked a little bit.
Right.
There were sanitizing wipes outside the theater if you wanted to use them, which I did. They wouldn't let you into the theater without a mask on. I wore gloves as well. When I went to see New Mutants, I went with our fellow writer Cortland Jacoby, and she practically came out there looking like Yorick from the first episode of Why the Last Man. She looked like she had a hazmat suit on.
Right.
I mean, she pretty much did have a hazmat suit on. She looked ridiculous, and I was embarrassed. But I understood. I understood why she looked that way.
We're not going to shame anybody for being too safe.
I'm not going to shame her either, but it was just like, okay.
Right.
And she didn't sit next to me either. She sat in front of me because we just, everybody's being safe.
Right.
And she wouldn't have been able to buy a seat next to me anyway. Like they're not selling seats. They weren't selling seats like that. So, as far as I was concerned, these two instances were about as safe as it's going to get, and I mean, it's going to be a case by case basis for me. I think that's probably the way it's going to be for everybody. It's going to be case by case. Yeah. If I had gone to buy my New Mutants tickets, because there were three showings of it around the same time. One for I think IMAX, one for Dolby, and one for Standard. And I chose Standard because it was like no one had bought any tickets for it.
Right.
So I picked the one that promised the least resistance. It's probably the way it'll be. And when it comes to screenings, if they're going to be like this, which is going to be really interesting, and we're kind of getting into inside baseball stuff here, which is fine with me. I don't know what this is going to do to the whole critic industry right now. Because they're not. I don't know. They're not going to be having full screenings. Full packed screenings. Even with just critics, I don't see them inviting 20, 30 critics into a theater. I don't see it happening. Which means they're going to be selecting critics again. They're going to be selecting critics just like they did for Tenet.
Right.
And that means a lot of people, just like it was for Tenet. Yeah, I mean, there are people in our group who were a lot of people asking about Tenet screenings.
Yeah.
And I mean, and a lot of people got rejected for Tenet screenings. You know, asking about them.
Here's the thing. I'm probably an outlier in this.
It's gonna be weird to see what happens to some of these critics who can't get into these things. And I'm fortunate that at least for in this case, I was one. Doesn't mean I always will be, but
yeah, but you were one because, and this isn't to kiss your ass on camera, but you've been doing this for 10 years and you've been one of the most dedicated people in our area at doing this. I fall on the other end of that spectrum, but I'm kind of an outlier. I mean, I'm self-aware, man. I don't have any problem with admitting that. But I'm probably an outlier in the fact that I understand it and I'm okay with it. Like, if I'm not there for the 6 indie movies on a Tuesday afternoon, I shouldn't be there for the blockbuster if they have to, hook it down. I guess the big question for me is, are they going to, if they're not doing publicity screenings? So the way it works, kids, is there's 2 types of screening. A press screening, which is usually held at a smaller theater, and there's 30, 35 people there. Most of the screenings are publicity screenings. So the critics get a reserved row or 2 in the theater, but the entire rest of the theater is filled up with people that won their tickets on a radio station or some contest somewhere. Right, so those are going to be no more. I can't see. I mean, they're important to spread the word, and I don't know how they'll do that marketing-wise, because it's not like you can give a screener out to random people. But
I mean, we've done a couple of screenings over the last couple of weeks. They've been virtual screenings, which I think are pretty cool. Giving people links to be able to watch the film at a certain time. Like kind of like how they do the virtual theater things online right now.
Right. That's how they did Bill and Ted. Yeah.
I think they did do Bill and Ted that way, but the screenings have been sort of like that too. Like we did one for Chemical Hearts, and we did another for Words on Bathroom Walls. And so you get people the links to a screening, and it starts at 7:30, just like the screenings do, and and you click your link and you go watch it. And we did a couple of screenings of those, and those did well. The way that we giving away free shit always does. Those might be the future for a lot of these things as they continue to come out virtually, digitally. That's probably going to be the way it's going to go for screenings, and it might be different for us. I mean, still the vast majority of the movies we're going to get are going to be digital for a while. But when it comes
to these, to be big screen. There's very few movies that need to be seen on the big screen. Tenet might be one of them, but and New Mutants could argue the fact. But was a Gemma Arterton movie that came out 2 weeks, Summerland. That you don't need to watch that on a big screen.
Right.
So yeah.
But even if they do hold them. I mean, they're going to be, they're probably going to be small groups, and I don't know what that means for critics who don't want to pay to see a movie, because let's be honest, most of the critics in DC are critics because they don't want to pay for movies.
Well, that's it. So you separate the men from the boys, and that's the thing. Like, if you don't care enough, like I understand if you're a critic that reviews 3 movies a week, it's not realistic for you to pay for those movies. But if you're pissed off that you got to pay for the next Avengers movie, then you shouldn't be a critic anyway, because apparently you don't. If watching a movie isn't worth $12 to you every once in a while, then how important are movies to you, and should you be writing about them?
But we started this conversation. We were talking about why this week felt so long. And I realized just by going to see 2 movies and having to actually go out to the theater, and this was just to Tyson's Corner, which is like 10 minutes from my house.
Right.
I realized how time consuming it actually is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's time consuming. And I was like, all of a sudden everything, because every other week I've had no problems getting anything done that I've actually needed to do. This is the first week in ages where I was behind. Like I should have put my Tenet review up a couple of days ago.
Right.
And it didn't go up until like an hour ago. And it's like, having to leave and go out to the movies at a time not of my own choosing to watch it.
Yep.
Is what it's messed everything up. Like everything else I can watch, I watch in the middle of the night when I'm bullshitting around. That's what I usually do. But having to watch it at somebody else's schedule and have to go out and go do it, fucked everything up. And I was just like, I ain't got no time to do everything.
Yeah,
and that's just 2 movies.
Yeah,
right around the corner.
So that's gonna cull it down too, because there's a lot of people that realize, because this pandemic and this quarantine specifically have really let people know. People can get used to some crazy shit. People can get used to a lot of stuff. But what this is illustrated for people is how much time they spend commuting, how much time they spend doing certain things that now they know they don't have to do. Like, and the critics that are, realizing now, wow, I have so much more time that I'm not driving to DC every day and watching a movie and I can do all this.
I can't imagine, because I don't know how much time you spent out in LA.
Mm-hmm. Only like 2 weekends.
I can't imagine those people, like my critic friends out there, who literally would spend 2 or 3 hours a day on the road, just getting back and forth to movies or to work. There's no easy travel in LA.
No.
Like, it's all freaking traffic all the time. It sucks.
There's no public transit.
It's one of the reasons why I'm reluctant to go out there.
Right.
But it's like, I can't imagine how they feel right now, not being able to go to the movies and being able to watch stuff at home. How much time they must feel like they have.
Oh, it's got to be a illuminating experience.
And how that's going to mess them up when they got to start going back out again.
Right.
It's going to mess them up so bad. It's going to mess them up so bad.
People were saying from the start, nothing will ever be the same again, and people say that a lot. I never really believed it, but I think things could be the same again, but they're not going to be, because we realize how stupid some things are. And the honest truth is, it doesn't do anybody any good to put an indie drama in a movie theater for critics to watch it. It's expensive. It's time consuming for the critics. It's expensive for the critics. You get parking and gas. It's expensive for the PR company. It is so much easier and so much cheaper to just send out a link to something that doesn't need to be seen in a theater. It's better for everybody all around. And it's better for filmmakers, because I don't care what any critic says, your movie can affect your enjoyment of a movie. So if you're sitting in traffic to get there and you're pissed off and you're late, you're probably not going to enjoy the movie as much. So there is even a side benefit from filmmakers and make it easy.
Yeah, I mean, they're betting on the fact that seeing movies in a theater is usually a more enjoyable experience than watching it at home. I guess in some cases that is true. I have rather enjoyed the comfort of sitting here watching it on my big screen, but also I can't lie and say that being there in the theater for both Tenet and New Mutants made them better. It did. Like, I probably would have liked New Mutants less if I had watched it here. I probably would have liked it less.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with that is, I've got ADD, and honestly, in the theater is the only time that I watch a movie without distraction end to end, because I can't do anything else without breaking some kind of public decorum rule. If I'm at home, no matter how hard I try, that phone comes out eventually. I'll get up to get a snack or something like that. There's so many distractions. So that's the only reason I would prefer to keep going to theaters is because I can guarantee that it has my 100% attention the whole time.
Yeah. So this was an interesting week, and I don't know what it's going to be like going forward. I can't think what the next major film in theaters is going to be. I think it's Wonder Woman, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's
because Mulan is Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because Mulan is Disney Plus. No Time to Die is I think in what
November.
I think it's still. Yeah. So I mean.
Yeah.
I think it's Wonder Woman is the next big one, but there might be some other ones sprinkled in along the way.
Right.
So, Bill and Ted, which came out this week, also was both. It was day and date. It was theaters, and it was opened in about 1,000 theaters, and it did premium VOD. So you had your choice of what you wanted to do. Right. Considering that it made $1 million in the box office, but was number 1 and number 2 on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
It was number 1 for the single film and number 2 for the franchise bundle where you got all 3.
Right.
So I'm imagining that most people decided to watch it at home is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Real quick, before we get into Bill and Ted, I know, we talk about what a shitty this week this was. Well, it ended even worse. I know I can guarantee already that you've been asked a million times about Chadwick Boseman, but I thought we should probably just talk about him.
We got to talk about Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. So I'm not breaking any news here, but it knows that Chadwick Boseman passed away Friday night after a 4-year battle with colon cancer.
Which he did told no one about.
Nobody. And I always liked, and I know it's common for everybody to say that. Of course I liked him now that he passed away, but I've always liked Chadwick Boseman. I think he's somebody that you can't not like. But there always seemed to be something about him that was heroic, that was more charismatic, that he belonged in that suit. And we find out what it is on the day he passes, and that's that he was fighting this, and this is something close to home to me because I had a little brother that we lost to cancer, and St. Jude's was a big part of that experience. And Boseman, while he's fighting his own battle, he's fighting cancer, he's looking at death in the eye. He's still, and you can see in the pictures above us here, he's smiling and going to children's hospitals and bringing this character to these kids who need hope and who need light, and not thinking about himself. I mean, he's a movie star. He has millions of dollars. I mean, any one of us would be thinking about ourselves in that place, but he didn't. And I think that speaks more about him than his career, his very, very astounding career does, of him as a person and his integrity.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this shocked me. I was, I was out when we found out the news on Friday. It was Friday night, maybe.
Yeah, it was late Friday night.
Or it was Friday night, yeah. And I immediately posted about it. But the thing about Chadwick Boseman is, a lot of people have reflected back on his career and then examined why he means so much. And yeah, Black Panther is a big part of it. I mean, you have a black superhero. You see so few black superheroes on the big screen, and you have one that does as incredibly well as that movie does and touch so many people, and becomes he's a freaking Best Picture contender. This thing is rare, but it's more than that. I mean, he embodies so many iconic black figures throughout our history that we've never really had a chance to see on the big screen.
Jackie Robinson,
Floyd Little, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall. So many.
I forgot about James Brown. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so many. Get on up. I mean, so many, man. He played so many important black figures.
Did he play any regular fun movies? I mean,
he did. I mean, he had 21 Bridges not too long ago. He's just in The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
He did that awful Gods of Egypt. He was in.
That's right.
He was in Draft Day. I mean, he's had other roles, of course, but I mean,
but per capita, his biopic standard is higher than the average.
I mean, he's been really good at playing these figures who are important to black people and whose stories have been sorely misrepresented or underrepresented.
Right.
So that's why he's come to mean so much. It's much more than just the Black Panther thing. But it was incredible, and I tweeted about it like just a few minutes after we learned about it. I was like, I can't believe that he has known about this since 2016, 2017, which means he was shooting Black Panther when he found out about this, at least, or shortly thereafter. And he never said anything. He did all these physically demanding roles. His most physically demanding roles came after that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and nobody knew, or at least as far as we know, nobody knew. I don't know what Marvel knew at the time. I have no idea.
It's hard to believe they did because, I mean, to be not morbid, but just to put the facts out there, he signed a multi-film contract. And I don't think, as a business decision, Marvel would have done that if they knew.
I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew. But I also got pissed the next morning, and I think this has like the most most tweets and retweets of that all year. I was pissed because I was seeing Shuri and Killmonger trending on Twitter the very next morning, and I was like, I can't believe y'all motherfuckers are out here worried about some Black Panther. The guy's just died, and you're sitting here worried.
24 hours.
And you're sitting here worried about what's going to happen to fucking Black Panther 2. I was like, that's some fucking whack shit, man. Fucking bullshit. And then Screen Crush put out a goddamn story about it. What happens next with Black Panther? And they took so much heat for it. They got everybody turned on them immediately.
Good.
And they took that shit down. I was like, this is exactly the shit I was worried about this morning. Because people are going to start doing this, and that's exactly what happened. It's like how inconsiderate this fucking bullshit is.
It's amazing.
The guy was a human being. The guy had a life outside of freaking Marvel movies, and and he did something that almost none of us could have done. Whether or not he would have kept working or not, I don't think any of us could have kept it secret the way he did.
No.
And he clearly did it because he didn't want whatever time he had left to be all about his cancer.
Right.
And he spent a lot of that time talking to people who did have cancer and trying to make their lives better.
It's just
It's a rare breed, man. I mean, don't say that shit much about celebrities. It's a rare
no.
breed, people like that. They don't
I
come
mean,
around too often.
celebrities can all day go to, and I'm not discounting anybody's philanthropic efforts, but they can go to Africa or East Asia or whatever and have their charities and all that and build wells, and that's great. And I applaud them for that. But more often than not, it's a PR move. Something like this where he hasn't told anybody. It's like when Robert Downey Jr. Would show up, or not. Well, he did it too, but Keanu Reeves would show up at hospitals unannounced to meet kids because he doesn't want the PR. He wants it for, he wants it for his fans. And as much as we all idolize these movie heroes, it's a really sad thing about it is that they are just disposable to us. And I think what you're saying really highlights that. I mean, this is somebody that headlined. I mean, even if it was only about Black Panther, even if it was that's all he ever did, the impact his appearance in that role made was enough to deserve this man 48 hours of respect before you move on to the next. And that's what they were doing. But unfortunately, people are selfish and they just think about what it means to them. And what it means to them is that their Black Panther 2 won't star T'Challa.
I mean, shit, people. Don't worry, we're gonna find out about that eventually. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Respect the man. Respect the man. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really rough.
Mhm.
2020 has been some bullshit.
And
that was a big blow.
I love that people always screen cap tweets because all of the douchebags that tweeted when he did an appearance earlier the year and he looked really really skinny. All the people that were screen capping and shaming him for it and talking shit.
Yeah.
Now you know
Tim
why.
and I were actually. It's funny. Tim Gordon and I actually had a conversation about it not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, when everybody was talking about it because we were like, yeah, he looks incredibly skinny, incredibly frail. We don't know what's going on, but we hope he's not sick. And we hope we were hoping it was for a role.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, shit. Why? Excuse me, but white actors get frail for roles all the time, and everybody just gives them acclaim for it.
Well, you get an Oscar for that if you're a white guy.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, it's exactly you get an Oscar for getting skinny. But a black actor was skinny, and well, I mean, everybody was.
Well, it's drugs. It's gotta be drugs.
What's wrong with him? Unfortunately, they were right. Something was wrong with him, sadly.
Right.
But he took a lot of heat for it rather than, anything else, which no one else ever seems to get.
Yeah.
But
the good he did and the integrity with which he did it will outlive all these other people and all the negative things around it.
Yeah.
So that sucks this year, man. On to happier stuff. I don't know how you segue from Chadwick Boseman's death to Bill and Ted Face the Music, but we're doing it. And here we are, Wild Stallions. So, Bill and Ted Face the Music, it's been talked for years and years. I'd say at least 6 or 7 years about.
Before we get to this, how did you get to watch Bill and Ted? Did you get a screener for it?
No, I had to pay for it.
You had to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. But that's okay because I wanted to see it. I don't mind supporting, but
yeah, I know.
I didn't. To be fair, I didn't actually reach out to ask for one. I need to get.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Yeah, I need to get a better hold of my email inbox because I get literally 750 emails a day, and I noticed the other day going through them that ones that are kind of nondescript actually have screening invites and interview offers and things like that in them. So I'm trying to go through them a little bit better now. But yeah, no, I just
you really need to just go ahead and create yourself a separate email.
I do. Yeah, you know what? That's actually sadly I just said I do. I thought of that. I actually hadn't thought of that until you just said something. That's
you really should just go ahead and do that so you don't have to mix these things up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all my emails are all mixed up, so everything comes everywhere. Well, some people send stuff to Punch Drunk Trav, some people send it to Punch Drunk Critics, some people send it to Shogun T, and I'm just like.
You got so many email accounts. I just send it to the first one that pops up.
I have so many email accounts because I'm always trying to separate.
Right.
And then they'd end up getting mixed up anyway.
Well,
Shogun T is the very first email address I ever had. It's 30 years old, that email address.
It does seem like
somehow I still have
it.
I still have it. It's just, I still use it. I still use it a lot. It's like my main email.
Mhm.
Just because I'm just so used to it.
Yeah.
Nobody else is really using Hotmail, but I'm still getting Hotmail. I'm still using it.
Hey,
But
if you can send and receive, that's all that matters.
I know I
But
don't really care. I mean, they're all the same to me. I see no difference in any of them.
the
But
sad thing is, I did set up those at Punch Drunk Critics email accounts for us like 6 months ago, and I set mine up and I put it on my phone and I never gave it to anybody. So
I don't even
um,
know how to access it. I know I have one.
yeah. So
I
we'll,
don't know
we'll have to
I don't know
table
how to
that
use it.
for off the air, but we'll have to get that fixed up. Um,
Okay, so Bill
yeah,
and
but I
Ted
rented
though.
it. I paid it. I paid for it. I paid the $25 on Vudu to own it, so I get to watch it many times I want to.
Anyway, Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted, Face the
You
Music.
were talking about Bill and
Yeah,
Ted, and then I interrupted you. So
it's been probably 10, 15 years since people started talking about the next Bill and Ted, bringing Keanu Reeves and Alex Winters back. They finally did it, and was it any good? Um, so Bill and Ted, if you guys remember in the original Bogus Journey and Excellent Journey, they were prophesized to write the song that saves the world. We fast forward 30 years and they still haven't done that. And their lives are really pretty sad, but not to them. Ignorance is bliss. The best part about this movie is Samara Weaving's in it as Bill.
you didn't like it?
No. That's praise. Samara Weaving, like
Okay.
if she was in Schindler's List, the best part about Schindler's List would be Samara Weaving was in it. No, I liked it a lot. The only thing I had a problem with, honestly, is that it seemed, and this is understandable, it seemed like they were trying to lean into the nostalgia a little bit too much. Like there were too many moments of like, hey, remember this? This happened before. When I think really could have just been a continuation, just treat it like a regular sequel. Um, but I had a lot of fun with it, and these movies are in my wheelhouse, especially after the week I had and the year that we've all had. A silly, fun comedy. It's something everybody could use.
It's a fun movie. I mean, and
Mhm.
I'm not a huge Bill and Ted fan like everybody else. They were, you know, that brand of humor back in the late '80s.
The
The
Pauly Shore type stuff,
yeah,
surfer
the sort
humor.
of the what was the Mike Myers Day in the car because the Wayne's World because
Yeah,
I equate these movies with like the Wayne's World movies too. Like
yeah, yeah.
like that brand of humor was not my up my alley. Like it just wasn't. The dude comedies is
Wait,
what
hold
I
on. So
it's
you
huh?
didn't relate to two suburban white rock and roll guys?
Nope.
Find
Not at
that
all.
incredibly hard to believe,
Not at
Travis.
all. And it doesn't mean I didn't really like them. It's just that
Hmm.
the first one is better than. I mean, I don't like Bogus Journey that much. I know some people like it better, I guess, but
Yeah.
I like the first one better. But neither one of them really spoke to me that much.
Hmm.
So I have not been like super excited for this one. I
Hmm.
think I've been interested only by the fact that it's been such a long time coming. I
Yeah.
mean, this movie has been talked about for damn near 20 years. That script by Ed Solomon and I can't remember the other guy has been. I mean, we've known the story for this for 10 years. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
it's one of those stories I remember writing about when we first started the site was Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah, it's
So
come
like,
up
this
over and
story,
over again.
yeah, this story has been in place forever. I don't know how much tweaking they did on it. Um, maybe not a lot. I mean, the movie
Hmm.
does rely a lot on nostalgia. So they might not have done it. But one of the things I liked so much about it, though, because I think this might be my favorite of the three, honestly. Um, the thing I like so much about it is that it tells two parallel stories. It's not really just about Bill and Ted. It's about
Hmm.
their daughters, and it's kind of a passing of the torch. And I found their story, their plot, which is basically them going back through time to assemble the greatest musicians of all time, like Jimi
History's
Hendrix.
Avengers.
Yeah, and so it's like I found their story to be far more interesting and far funnier and far more compelling than Bill and Ted's, which is
Hmm.
basically them visiting versions of themselves to try and steal the song that's going to save the universe.
Hmm.
Because they can't be bothered to write it. Basically,
Well, why would you?
they don't have time. They got like an hour to save the universe. So it
Right.
was, which it actually the idea they come up with is actually one of the smartest things they've ever done, which is why don't we just go and steal it from ourselves who did write it
Yeah.
It's like, and they play it off as stupid, but that's one of the things I like about Bill and Ted is that it makes you believe that the really dumb, silly stuff they do can really save the universe.
Hmm.
And so not every movie can pull that off, but these movies do it. They kind of exist in their own little world, so that's why I find that funny.
Right.
But I found the girl's journey, which mirrors the guy's early adventure, in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
You see their loyalty, their friendship to one another, all throughout as they're having this experience that they know their fathers shared at one point too. So there's this excitement and this awe to it, while also this recognition that they're kind of following in their father's footsteps. I found
Hmm.
that part of the movie to be much more enjoyable than the Bill and Ted stuff. Honestly, I thought that was a little. I mean, they were funny, they were fine, but the girls part it's just felt so new. I
Yeah.
really just thought I really like that so much more. But
Yeah.
the
Billy
movie's
and
fun,
Thea.
man. It's not. It doesn't. You don't. It's Bill and Ted. You don't have to think too much about it. A lot of it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But but it's fun.
Doesn't need to.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun for a movie like this at a time like this. It's something that I think people will have a lot to get a lot out of.
Yeah. See, now I'm trying. I haven't seen Excellent Adventure in God knows how long, so I need to rewatch that. But in my mind, bogus. I was one of those bogus journey people, and part of the reason for that was Bill Sadler, who played Death,
Yeah.
in this one as well. And it was things like that that reminded me of the original. The nostalgia, while they do lean on it heavily, it does work. They hit
Mhm.
the right
And
notes
these
with the
movies
things.
should be nostalgic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're movies that play with time. They should be nostalgic.
Oh, for
They
sure.
should they should they should revisit things. And when you've been gone as long as these movies have been, we should revisit and because look, no one's going to see Bill and Ted Face the Music who did not see the first two movies.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. This isn't something you're wandering
It,
into for sure.
it's like Jay and Silent Bob reboot. There's no one who's going to see it who did not see Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Right, and it's funny you mentioned that because these two movies do have a lot of parallels. You're absolutely on point with the passing of the torch and that being the more interesting story. It's kind of like two separate pieces that make a good movie, and they're just parallel the whole time. Where you have Bill and Ted who give you the slapstick, funny stuff, the nostalgia, and then you have Billy and Thea, really inventive names there,
Yeah.
giving you the new stuff that's entertaining you on that level. Um, and the reason I
Billy
bring
and
up
Thea, they're not inventive, but aren't they the names that Bill and Ted would give their daughters?
they are 100%, 100%
They
inventive.
wouldn't put any thought into it whatsoever.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Where the nostalgia, it's like the filmmakers. When you go to nostalgia, all too often you see they just don't understand why people are nostalgic for it. They hit the wrong notes, and that is one thing I will say is that they did hit all the right notes.
That's why
For
that was
somebody
the
that was
good
looking
thing
for
about having Ed Solomon, who's the guy who created the franchise and has written all three movies.
it.
I mean, he knows these characters. No one knows these characters better than he does. So
Right.
that's probably why they didn't have to tweak the script very much. I mean, he
Yeah. I mean.
he knows them so well. And the thing is, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter know these characters so well too. Well, it's amazing how easily they slip back into that mode.
But they
It's
do. It's not. They do slip back, and mentally and aesthetically, it's perfect. But there is a small part of me, like I think I'm having like that close to midlife crisis where, with all this nostalgia stuff, and I see these
because
people
you're
come
old
back,
too.
I know. And Keanu Reeves, everybody's like, oh, he's a vampire. He hasn't aged. But as soon as you see him throw on that costume, you're like, oh yeah, he has. And it works for the movie. It works for the jokes. Seeing these two guys that just completed Arrested Development have not changed since you saw them 30 years ago. But
That's why it's so pronounced for Keanu Reeves that he looks old in this movie is because we remember them when they were
yeah,
teenagers in the first one, and
and they're a
now we
fresh
see them now
face.
we're
Yeah,
like, oh well, we aged right along with them. I say, oh damn. It's
right.
different than seeing him in John Wick, where he's, it's just not the same. But we've
Hmm.
seen these characters develop and grow old right there with us. So it's like, ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
Keanu does look old in this movie. Well, he should. He's supposed to. He's
yeah.
looking like a regular person.
But he's not a regular person. He's a Keanu. So that's obviously a go from both of us if you were a fan of the originals, especially. The one I'm really interested in hearing about because I didn't brave the theater. I wasn't as brave as you. New Mutants has been a movie that was supposed to come out for about 14,000 years.
Yeah.
It was completed back, I think, after season 2 of Game of Thrones.
It
And
completed in 2017.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
it
so
completed
yeah.
in 2017. That's when we got the first trailer. I couldn't
Mhm,
believe it when I thought about it. I looked back and I was like, that first trailer did come out in 2017, and we all shit on it.
mhm.
I mean, it wasn't a very good trailer.
No. Well, yeah,
And
immediately people thought it was going to be a bad movie, and
yeah,
I'm
I mean, and
curious to
then
see
it
if they
was.
were right.
I mean, and then it was supposed to open in 2018. So it's
Mhm,
been 2 years of sitting on the shelf, and it's sat on the shelf for a lot of different reasons. I mean, they're supposed to do reshoots, and those never happened. They
mhm,
never happened because Fox was sold to Disney. Fox was at first impending sale to Disney, so they
mhm.
weren't doing anything major. And then it finally did sell to Disney, and Disney was like, "Well, we're not going to throw a bunch of money in a bunch of reshoots."
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and then there was a good long while where it looked like the movie wasn't going to come out in theaters at all. It
Mhm.
looked like it was just going to either be dumped on the Hulu or someplace else, or just not be released. I know that
Right.
was a distinct possibility too, that it just would not be released. Ultimately, there was a contractual obligation, so the movie had to come out in the theaters.
Mhm.
It had to, and so it got unceremoniously dumped in the middle of a pandemic, which should tell
Mhm.
you everything you need to know about what they feel about it, how they feel about it.
So
It is
this
not their problem, so they're going to just put it out there,
this
and
is
that's
not
what they
going the way I
did.
wanted it to. Let me tell you real quick before you get into your deeper view the hopes. I didn't have high hopes for New Mutants, obviously, but what it represented in terms of the superhero genre was huge. I mean, you have, and we've gotten there anyway. You have superhero movies, which was a genre on its own, but now we're getting to a place where we have regular genre movies that happen to feature superheroes. Key point: Batman. With the Batman, if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out on punchdrunkcritics.com. You know, it looks like a noirish crime thriller. And the New Mutants was back in 2017 when this trailer first came out. It wasn't like that anywhere else. I mean, we had just had the Winter Soldier, which was kind of a espionage thriller, but really there weren't any defined. There wasn't a horror movie that featured superheroes. So it really could have been kind of a game changer and pushed that whole thing forward, but it never was released. And now that it was it for good reason that it wasn't released?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be like other people and completely shit on the movie. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's a disaster. I kind of feel about it the same way I feel about Dark Phoenix, which is that there's potential there
Mm-hmm.
that just goes kind of unfulfilled. That's the way I feel about New Mutants too. I mean, it's a run of the mill. It's a run of the mill thriller. I mean, it really is. It's a run of the
Mm-hmm.
mill horror movie, horror thriller with teenagers in it.
Okay.
And it should be more than that. Obviously, it's an X Men movie. As it
Mm-hmm.
turns out, the final X Men movie for the Fox franchise movies. I wonder if
Are
they're
there
going
any
to put out
ties?
I wonder if they're going to put out a box set of like every X Men movie all together.
I mean, they
I
have
think
to, right? That's
I
money
think I
that you
would buy
don't.
that. I think I would buy that if they put that out. Even though there's movies in there that I don't like,
Yeah.
I think I would buy that.
I mean, I definitely if physical media was still a thing. I mean, I'm still hoping that it comes back because
Physical
I
media
love
is
collecting.
still a thing. They just put out like a whole Avengers set, like a
Yeah.
Marvel Cinematic Universe set.
It's not really though. You know what I mean?
in like a giant like like suitcase like the Infinity Gauntlet is in.
Yeah, but it, you know, the Beatles still have records released too, so it's not like
I mean,
everybody's gonna get that. But so you mentioned the X-Men. Are there any direct ties, or are they just
yeah,
mentioned?
no,
Or
there are. And look, when Josh Boone was making this movie, he
Mhm,
initially planned it to be a trilogy of movies
mhm,
that tied into the X Men. Obviously, it's an X Men movie.
right?
There are direct references to Xavier, the school, and there are some that are less overt. But there are ties all around. There's a major X Men villain that is a part of this too that they don't that we've speculated for a long time and it
Mhm,
is confirmed if you watch the movie. So yeah, there are ties all over the place. You can see where they were laying the threads just to be something more.
right.
And if the movie were to be a gigantic hit, I don't doubt for a second that probably somebody would try to pick up those threads and use them.
Mhm,
But it's not going to happen. The movie
mhm,
didn't do anything at the box office, and like I said, it's a perfectly run of the mill movie. Um, there are aspects of it that I like though. It's sort of a mix between like, and I think this is the word of problem that Josh Boone, the writer and director, falls into a certain trap.
Mhm.
He's trying to do too many things at once. He wants to be sort of like this Breakfast Club, John Hughes kind of teen movie, but he
Mhm.
also wants it to be a horror movie. And I don't think either one of those aspects really work as well as he wants them to. Horror
Right.
elements aren't that scary, so if you're going to it for that, you're not going to be scared at all.
Mhm.
And it's too dark and grim of a film to kind of capture the teenage angst that we all kind of want from our from our teen movies.
Mhm.
So it's not it doesn't work on either level as well as it should. But there are things about it that I do like. Uh, I think the concept is actually pretty cool, especially for a longtime X-Men fan. To see the New Mutants kind of feeling out their powers in this creepy psychiatric wards, kind of like Shutter Island. You're kind of like on this
Mhm.
like sort of place. That's a cool idea. Including the Demon Bear, who is one of my favorite X-Men villains. The Demon Bear is a
Mhm.
brilliant idea and looks cool, even though the CGI on it towards the end is you can see they were really
I
stretching it.
noticed that it didn't look too
Yeah,
good.
having Anya Taylor-Joy as Ileana Rasputin,
Mhm.
Colossus's little sister. She's fantastic. She's great
She's she's
in that
amazing.
role.
She's blowing up. I mean, the next five
Yeah, man,
years,
she's great.
she's gonna be on everything.
Yeah, she's great, man. I wish there's certain things like that, like her as Ileana. She's such a bitch in this movie.
Mhm.
Got a chip on her shoulder. She has a little pet Lockheed, a little dragon, just like in the well, Kitty Pryde usually has Lockheed in the comics, but
Right.
he's in it. She makes trips through Limbo, which is the demon world that she's the queen of. She goes through there. Looks Limbo looks awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Maisie Williams as Rain Sinclair is good as well, I really like Blue Hunt as Danielle Moonstar, and I like that they include a same-sex love affair between Wolfsbane, Rain Sinclair, and Moonstar. I think that's a new element that actually they could have done more with. That's one of the things that bothered me about it was that the some of the stuff that they bring in that's they introduce that's new and as
Mhm.
I think is meant to be a little bit edgier. They kind of tiptoe their way around because I can tell they're trying to maintain a PG-13 rating, and I don't think it served them. It didn't really serve them. But I would love to see this cast reunited. I even like Charlie Heaton as Cannonball. Cannonball's arguably my favorite New Mutant ever. He's one of my favorite X-Men ever. And I like Henry Zaga as Sunspot, even though people are going crazy about it all of a sudden, as if this
Right.
movie hasn't been in the works for 3 goddamn years. All of a sudden, within like the last 2 weeks, everybody's hot because Henry Zaga isn't dark skinned like Roberto da Costa is in the comics. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I don't understand why people are mad about that. It's just it bugs me that whole thing. I get whitewashing, I do.
Mhm.
Even Bob McLeod, one of the co-creators of New Mutants, complained about whitewashing in regards to Sunspot. It's not whitewashing. Um, Sunspot is Brazilian, and so is Henry Zaga. He's Brazilian as well. Um, yeah, that bothered the shit out of me, and
It's,
I'm like, come on, man.
it's what we were talking about
And
earlier.
they got a Native American actress to play the Native American character in the movie.
Mhm.
I'm not a stickler for somebody's skin tone, and I'm just
Yeah.
not. I'm not a stickler for that sort of thing, unless it's a defining characteristic, like for a real person. Like in
Right.
the case of Nina Simone, when they got Zoe Saldana to play her, that was a problem because
Yeah.
Nina Simone is a real person, a real dark skinned lady. Um, Her dark skin was a key feature to her life and her personality and everything about and her public image, and
Right.
she made it so. And
Mhm.
so casting someone like Zoe Saldana, who is not dark skinned, and to try to artificially kind of make her dark skinned, which is the way they shot it. But anyway,
Mhm.
but it was just that was bad all around. But here we're
Yeah.
talking about Roberto da Costa, a fictional character who, if anybody who's read the comics knows, a character's skin tone changes all the time based on whoever the fuck the colorist is that goddamn month.
Yeah,
It's just,
well, I mean,
it's just so stupid to me that people were upset over Sunspot not being the actor not being dark enough. He's a Brazilian guy. He's dark enough for me. He looks like Roberto da Costa. Jesus Christ, leave it
you gotta
alone.
do your research, man, because like I get it. If you cast me as War Machine, I understand, obviously,
I'd
but
put you in the War Machine suit. I just wouldn't call you James Rhodes.
well, yeah. If you cast me as James Rhodes, let me fix that. But especially with people of Latin heritage, you got to know where somebody's from. My kids are half Puerto Rican. They look about as lily white as you could believe, to the point that my mother-in-law always gets upset when they go out because people think she's their nanny or something. And you can't just go out there and jump off the hip on some headline without doing your research.
It
And
just
also, you
bothers
can,
me, man. But I was having a conversation, and I don't know um, how long we're letting the show run today, but
yeah, we got to close up in about 7 minutes. I'm glad you said I kind of lost track of where I was.
yeah, I know. Well, I was gonna go off on another tangent, but I'll just keep it short. I was having a conversation with another colleague, and we were just like, and I deleted a bunch of people off my Twitter, and I was like, I'm done with my colleagues who are just grievance whores at this
Oh
point.
yeah,
And I got a
yeah.
lot of them. And most of them aren't even really film critics. They're influencers. So
Mm.
and there's a big difference between critics and influencers. I know the lines have been blurred to some degree, but they're different.
There are
Um,
times when you need to speak up, but there's also you don't need to speak up about everything if it doesn't,
yeah, the thing is, influencers for the most part, influencers who are in this line of thinking, the grievance whores,
hmm
they don't have a career unless they find a new grievance. And they're
Right.
always looking for a grievance when it comes to something about race. And yeah, I prefer to tackle real issues about race
Yeah.
rather than fucking argue because the Brazilian actor who was playing the Brazilian mutant in an X-Men movie, his skin tone's not dark enough for me.
Right.
Like, I get the hell out of here. That
But it
stuff
takes
bothers
away from people taking actual instances seriously.
me. Yeah,
It's a boy who
I
cried
can't
wolf
take this
syndrome.
seriously.
But
I just got rid of them. Got
you
rid of
know,
them.
I know we weren't here last week, which was probably one of the worst
Weren't
weeks
we?
for us to miss. No, that's when I had all that stuff start happening, and we had to skip out at the last minute. But we got
I thought we
about
did it a couple of days later, didn't we?
no,
Or
we were
no?
supposed to do it Wednesday, but then we never did. The
Shit.
week
That goes
before
to
we did
show
it
how
Monday.
bad this week was that I totally forgot that we were supposed to do it. I
Yeah.
thought that we did.
Yeah, no, we didn't. And I didn't push it because I didn't know if I was gonna have time, But
I thought that we did do it. That just goes to show how much this week was.
right,
Anyway,
and this is old news at this point, but we got to address it at least quickly. Is the success of DC Fandome that came out last week? I've referenced the Batman trailer earlier. Some hits, some misses out of there. Misses main Black Adam trailer, and I know a lot of people were going crazy for the Suicide Squad trailer, but there was no real footage, so I thought that was kind of a miss too. The Batman
uh,
trailer. I mean, what was there? Like, it was just their character cards. I
yeah,
mean,
but we did. Yeah, but we didn't. But we saw footage. I mean, we saw them in character. Um, we saw a lot. We
I don't
saw a
know.
lot from Suicide
I
Squad.
felt like it
And
was
the thing
all
is, we
modified.
didn't actually know their characters. We didn't know.
We
We
didn't
had
know
no
some of them.
idea who. We had no idea who 90% of those people were playing.
Why am
So
I thinking that we
it,
did? Well,
it was a big deal.
then I guess that was a
We had
hint.
no idea who Idris Elba was,
hmm
or I don't think we knew who Pete Davidson was. We knew a lot of people. We had no idea. There were some that we knew that we had
hmm
guessed, but a lot of them had been confirmed, and a lot of them we just plain had no idea.
Which one are you
So
most excited to see? For me, it's John Cena.
I am super excited for John Cena as Peacemaker.
hmm
Peacemaker is I compare him to U.S. Agent. He's like the
That's a good
DC.
comparison.
He's like the DC Universe's U.S. Agent, which in the spot John Cena calls him a douchey Captain America. That's exactly what you would call U.S. Agent, the
Yeah,
douchey Captain America, which is
I always
why I love U.S. Agent more than I like Captain America, by
I always think of it more as like
the way. And U.S. Agent is a total right wing, right wing lunatic
right.
for the most part, and
He's
he's
more
one of
like
my
if
favorite
U.S.
characters in
agent and the
Marvel Universe.
Punisher had a baby. That's who it would be. Um, so that was the Black Adam, though. I think we can all agree. I mean, it's cool. I mean,
It's just art.
yeah, it's
It's
just
just
art.
art.
It was
Just
like
art. They
what do
haven't
they
even
call
started
those?
shooting yet. They haven't even started filming at all yet.
Yeah, but it was cool to finally see the confirmation and to hear, we found out what the story was about. We know that the Justice Society is going to be a part of it. I actually am excited to
about
see
that.
if we get to see Dr. Fate on screen. He's one of those characters that I never thought you could properly do justice on the big screen because without it being goofy. Smallville, I don't think Arrow, Smallville, and maybe Stargirl both feature Dr. Fate.
I'm a little upset that we're not getting Mr. Terrific in the JSA because he's my favorite character on the team. But if the movie does well, I imagine he'll be there.
But it'll be interesting to see how they handle that because the JSA to me can very easily go down the path of being just too goofy. But yeah, so it was cool to see all that. The Batman, I guess, let's just talk about that real quick, and then Wonder Woman 1984, we got a full trailer and some idea.
And Zack Snyder's Justice League got the trailer for that,
which
set to the tune of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which is both conceited and kind of perfect at the same time.
And unoriginal. I mean, he used the same. As soon as I heard it, all I could think about was Night Owl having sex in the Owl Mobile, or whatever it's called.
This is true. This is true.
Yes, it is true. This is the way. Wonder Woman 1984. Justice League, the Snyder Cut. The thing I'm kind of upset about, he's getting another bite at the apple. DC has always had bad CG, no matter what the movie was. I don't know what company they use. They need to go to who Marvel uses. But we finally get a look at Darkseid, and it just looks like crap, if you ask me. I mean, do you think...
I need to see what he looks like in the final before I judge it too hard.
Yeah, it just seems
considering how he is piecing this movie together, I don't know if I want to judge anything too harshly at this point. Honestly.
I guess I should be a little bit more forgiving.
I mean, he's basically, not building it from scratch, but the movie was unfinished. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll wait until I see the final thing. It's like when they we got that first look at Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, and he looked like Grimace from.
How did that turn out, though?
He looked like Grimace from McDonald's.
Right.
And then when the movie came out, he didn't look like that at all. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
And I recognize that X-Men Apocalypse might be a bad way to measure anything.
That's what I was saying. How did that turn out for him?
But I'm just talking about visually when they first showed him at Comic-Con. He looked like crap. Yeah. He looked vastly different in the end. So.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, as we saw with Sonic the Hedgehog, releasing it now, they can do some corrections later. But Wonder Woman 1984, just a rapid fire round. We got to see full Cheetah. What did you think of that? I mean, we didn't really see too much.
She looks good.
Yeah.
I like that she's a predator. That her character is very Barbara Minerva.
I love the motivation. I don't know much about Cheetah in the comics, but I love the motivation that they gave. And honestly, anybody that was confused about why am I blanking on her name?
Kristen Wiig.
Anybody that was confused about why they would cast Kristen Wiig in this role, other than that, she's awesome. You can really see it there. She's the perfect personality to play somebody that's just on the outside of being an alpha and could really want to be. She can play that really well, and that's what they're running for here, and that's going to be awesome.
Think about her character in Bridesmaids.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a lot alike who this Barbara Minerva is going to be, without the stupid, goofy stuff.
Right.
Like her predicament.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. That's kind of what they're going for, I think.
Yeah. But the biggest news of the day, or the weekend or the day, whatever you want to call it, for me was the Batman trailer. I mean, I've had a feeling that it was going to be good since the beginning. Robert Pattinson, for the casual movie fan, you probably still think of him as Twilight. The dude has made progress by leaps and bounds with his ability and his career since then. And he's got the jaw for it, which is what everybody's saying. But we got to see Jeffrey Wright as Gordon. We can tell things are a little bit different.
That's what I'm excited about. Jeffrey Wright as Gordon.
We can tell things are different for a number of reasons. Number one, I mentioned earlier in the show, it feels like a noir crime thriller. We get to see the Riddler in the beginning. If you didn't know that was him, the guy that was all taped up with goggles, that's the Riddler. So obviously no bowler hat. And Batman seems to be friends, or at least tolerated by the cops at this point. They're calling it year 2.
This is year 2 Batman. It seems like they're still figuring out who he is, what his motivations are.
Right.
It seems like he has a relationship with Gordon, But I don't know. It does seem like the rest of the force is kind of like the way they're going to end up being, which is like, looking at him kind of sideways most of the time.
Not fully trusting him at best.
Right, and as far as we can tell, I mean, even though he seems to be friends with Gordon, it's year two, so that friendship has probably not been put to the test yet.
For sure.
This might be the time where this might be the instance where they kind of forge the bond that we know that they have for such a long time. It would be during this story. But this also, yeah, you're right. This does look like a gritty kind of crime noir. It also looks like emo Batman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's got like the heavy eyeshadow, which I was trying to explain to somebody the other day. They're like, why has he got eyeshadow? Maybe in Portland actually. I was like, so why does he have eyeshadow under the mask? And I was like, I had to think. Well, first of all, I was like, it made me laugh because it is stupid. But at the same time, I also recognize that they do it because Batman's not the only one. This is not the person that's seen that. But even in masks, like, if you look at somebody well enough, you can kind of see who they are through their eyes. Like, you can tell who they are. The eyeshadow is to obscure that. So I get why they do it. Yeah. But no one ever asks that question why they do it.
Yeah.
So it made me laugh.
Ever since Kick-Ass, whenever I can notice that somebody's wearing I'm not calling it eyeliner, but black makeup underneath the mask, all I think of is Big Daddy just in the mirror doing that Silence of the Lambs thing. But the emo Batman, it's just weird that and maybe this speaks to his ability to do the character. Like when there's a scene when he's in a church or a building of some sort, and a guy comes in strapped with a Riddler bomb on him, and he just looks meek, standing there, and he doesn't look like he could be Batman. But I'll be damned if the scenes, everybody's talking about the one scene where he beats the hell out of one of the thugs, and those look like the bad guys from year one. I don't remember what their names are, the sewer people or the lost.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But it looks like that. But he just beats the living shit out of them. So it's a grounded more grounded and realistic than Batman vs Superman. Maybe even more so than Batman Begins, because it's really got a 7 feel to it. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, and we are running over the 1 hour mark, so we'll cut it here.
Nope.
We got to cut, or we will run out of time on YouTube. So next week we got Mulan. What else do we have next week?
Is next week Mulan?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost September already.
Time to start bugging people about a screener.
Yeah, man. You don't want to pay that $25 on top of your Disney Plus membership. But for that, check us out next week, and all the other stuff we'll have all the news from the week. For all your news every day, check out punchdrunkcritics.com. Travis is at PunchyCritic on Twitter. I'm at PunchDrunkJohn on Twitch. He's cinematic_enforcer. If you haven't already, subscribe to his channel there on Twitch. We'll be doing giveaways and stuff like that through that channel in the future.
Or yours whenever you get your shit going.
Yeah, I don't have mine going yet. But I will. Sometime before the next generation console comes out. So check us out there. And like I said, every day, punchdrunkcritics.com. Until next time, folks, we appreciate it. We're out of here.
Later.